This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Thursday, August 29th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, we're tracking Hurricane Dorian as it moves toward Florida. And the latest on Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the former White House press secretary, may be considering a run for office. A closer look at Texas politics and why the state may turn from red to purple. And an actor and overcomer shares his journey of faith and the price he paid in Hollywood. All those stories and much more ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We won't begin this hour, though, with the first major hurricane of the year headed for the U.S. and expected to hit over the holiday weekend. Wednesday, Hurricane Dorian largely spared Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, but the National Hurricane Center says it is strengthening. It expects Dorian to grow into a Category 3 storm and says its strong winds will start approaching the Florida coastline Sunday morning. The Miami-Dade County mayor declared a state of emergency.
Residents should make sure that emergency equipment such as hurricane shutters and battery-powered radios are in good working order. You must have an evacuation plan. Be sure to fill your gas tank. Plan to leave with ample time to get to a safe area.
And our Heather Sells is following this for us today and joins us right now. So we know that you reported in Puerto Rico following Maria. It sounds like it could have been a major disaster there.
Right. So Maria was actually 2 years ago, September of 2017. I was there in March. Things still were not good. And today there's 28 to 30,000 homes with tarps for roofs. The electric grid is not working well. There's concerns about that. And 1,000 roads are still blocked, according to the transportation secretary, from landslides from Maria. So there was extreme concern all the way up to yesterday about what might happen. Thankfully, they were spared, but that island is still really vulnerable, and the U.S. has still got a lot of work ahead there. Want to point out, though, a lot of faith-based groups, Southern Baptist, Assemblies of God, a lot of faith-based groups are working on the ground there to rebuild homes and help overall with getting that island back on its feet.
Yeah, Operation Blessing there as well. We know that there is news about FEMA diverting money out of its disaster funds. What can you tell us about that?
Right. Yeah, I think it's worth noting because it's a little political side note to all this hurricane coverage. It came out this week that Homeland Security is diverting $155 million from FEMA disaster relief funds to detention facilities on the border. Democrats are raising a big fuss about this, saying this is outrageous. How can you do it? Which is interesting because they're the ones who have complained about detention facilities on the border. But the former FEMA administrator, Craig Fugate, was on NPR speaking about this, and others have said Homeland Security has the authority to transfer funds within the department. And so this is such a time. I do, we'll see what happens, if they're able to respond to disasters well this year. But they have the authority, and certainly I think the public is aware that detention facilities need more funds.
Absolutely, indeed. All right, Heather, thank you so much for your reporting there.
You're welcome.
For the latest on how Dorian is tracking and what we can expect, we want to go now to AccuWeather meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Hurricane Dorian is churning northwest. It's now north of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. It's moving northwest at about 13 miles an hour, and the top wind's 85 miles an hour, making this a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Dorian is forecast to turn more to the west with time, and it is forecast to strengthen. And by the time it gets close to the northern Bahamas and the Florida Peninsula over the holiday weekend, we could be looking at a major hurricane. Taking a look at the water vapor loop, there's a little spin right here near the Bahamas. This is an upper trough that has been drawing Dorian up towards the northwest. That will push off to the southwest, and as high pressure builds to the north, that will force the turn to the northwest and then more to the west with time. So that's why this will be directed towards the northern Bahamas and towards the Florida Peninsula. And of course, the waters are very warm. And over the next couple of days, we've been battling dry air with this system. There's less dry air. The wind shear is weak, and there's really no significant land interactions. So that's another reason why we're expecting intensification. In the near term, for the central and southeast Bahamas, the main concern will be the rough surf, but of course, when it gets closer to the northern Bahamas and Florida, it does look like the system is capable of quite a bit of damage.
Former White House press secretary and the daughter of former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee may be planning to run for the governor's seat in her home state of Arkansas. Monday, Sarah Huckabee Sanders launched a new personal website, which gave many political pundits enough evidence to wonder if she may be planning to enter the Arkansas gubernatorial race in 2022. It is a polished website that features her biography, touting her relationship with former boss President Donald Trump. Back in June, when Sanders left her job at the White House, President Trump tweeted, "I hope she decides to run for governor of Arkansas. She would be fantastic." Now, back in June, according to Politico, Sanders and her camp began making calls to donors and influential Republicans in the natural state. Just last month, Huckabee told the radio host Yu Hewitt that she doesn't know if she'll run, but confirmed her interest in that idea. Well, we are only a little more than a year away from the presidential election, and this time Facebook is making sure political advertising will be handled correctly. The social media giant says political advertisers will now have to verify their identity before being given a confirmed organization label. The new rules come after incidents where users place misleading or inaccurate advertisements to influence voters. Facebook officials said, quote, "In 2018, we did see evidence of misuse in these disclaimers, and so this is our effort to strengthen the process." The rules will also apply to Instagram. A leading Virginia Beach official is resigning after being criticized for his response to a recent mass shooting by a city employee. Hansen worked for the city for 13 years, including more than 3 years as city manager. He helped to lead the city's response to one of the worst mass shootings in Virginia history 3 months ago, when a city employee killed a dozen people at the municipal building. But family members of some of the victims have been critical of Hansen's response to the shooting, saying he hasn't been responsive to their requests for information. The city council plans to name an interim city manager at its next meeting, which is scheduled for next week. A federal judge has ruled in favor of a pro-life investigative journalist who uncovered damaging footage of Planned Parenthood. David Daleiden faced charges for his part in an undercover investigation into Planned Parenthood's selling of baby body parts. Last week, a judge ruled the abortion giant cannot blame Daleiden for threats made by third parties apparently reacting to the organization's videos. The majority of Planned Parenthood's $20 million lawsuit was dismissed, reducing it to $100,000. The case is scheduled to go to trial beginning September 30th. A 64-year-old New York rabbi is recovering from a violent attack. Rabbi Avraham Gopin was taking his daily walk in Lincoln Terrace Park when a man approached him and began beating him, according to a post by his son-in-law. Benny Friedman wrote on Twitter, "The man started yelling at him, chased him, and threw a huge brick at him." He says he believes the man had murder on his mind. Friedman says his father-in-law was hospitalized with a broken nose and missing teeth, stitches on his head, and lacerations on his body. A New York City councilman tweeted, "The NYPD Hate Crimes Task Force is investigating the incident." New York Mayor Bill de Blasio called the attack a despicable act of violence and vowed to catch the perpetrator. Coming up, what is happening in the Lone Star State that might be turning the tide of the conservative stronghold there? We've got that story for you coming up right after this. Stay with us.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. you'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a better gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
When it comes to politics, Texas has been a red state for decades, though it may be turning purple with a surge in enthusiasm among Democrats and a changing demographic. Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon traveled to the Lone Star State to find out exactly what's going on.
Here in Texas, Democrats are energized. They feel the wind at their backs, and that means for the first time in a very long time, Republicans across the state are playing defense. Did you ever think that you would run for office?
That's a, I had jokes with my teachers in elementary. I guess I've always been the diplomat.
On paper, Austin Talley is about as solid a Republican candidate the party could ask for. Veteran, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and native Texan. But in this Austin suburb, his race for the State House is expected to be one of the toughest in Texas.
It's going to be a lot of work. It's supposed to be the third hardest race in the state of Texas for 2020.
We caught up with Talley in the city of Kyle, a place where Republicans have been forced to eat some old-fashioned humble pie. He's running to unseat first-term Democrat Aaron Zwiner, who beat a Republican in 2018. The district is a microcosm of what's happening across the state. How is your community changing? What does it look like?
We get about 110 that moved into this, what is called the Golden Corridor, 110 that move here a day. It's rapidly growing.
Texas is the fastest growing state in the nation. Randon Steinhauser's consulting company is advising Talley's campaign.
Right here on our street, there's 20 houses. My husband is the only native Texan on our street. We have folks from South Korea, Mexico, India, not just the traditional places like Chicago, New York, California, that you hear the rhetoric of all of these folks moving to Texas. They're moving to Texas from all over the world.
And as neighborhoods and communities transform, so do the state's politics. Cities are becoming more blue and spilling into the suburbs, creating new challenges for the GOP.
There is a sense of urgency, and it's excitement as well. And I think it's something that we're realizing in some ways we've taken things for granted.
Stacey Hawk is in charge of raising big bucks for Republican candidates across the state in 2020.
Thousands of people are moving here all the time, and largely from states that have big government policies, high tax, high regulation environments.
And here in Texas, we value freedom. We value the entrepreneurial spirit. We value individualism, and we have a rugged determination to make sure that we protect those freedoms.
For Texas Republicans, it's a conundrum. The same policies that make Texas attractive economically are biting Republicans politically. Analysts have watched the demographics change for years, but last year's surge in enthusiasm among Democrats served as a wake-up call. Beto O'Rourke made national headlines as he came closer to winning a statewide race than any Democrat in a generation, nearly unseating Republican Senator Ted Cruz. The excitement O'Rourke generated helped Democrats pick up 2 congressional seats, 2 state Senate seats, and a dozen seats in the State House. And next year, Democrats have 17 more state house seats in their sights. Tell me what it's like to be a Democrat in Texas these days.
Well, actually, a lot more encouraging than I would tell you last year before we had the last elections.
Democrat Donna Howard has served in the Texas State House for more than a decade. And even though her party is still in the minority, its gains in 2018 transformed the agenda Republicans pursued during the legislative session. With suburban women voters in mind, Republicans held back on pushing certain pro-life legislation and other social issues controversial with that voting bloc. Democrats like Howard welcomed the difference.
We're focused on kitchen table issues, things that make a real difference in the day-to-day lives of Texans, rather than being caught up in sucking up all the oxygen with divisive social issues. We saw even our leadership that was so focused last time on bathroom legislation back off of that totally.
And that's not all. While it's typically tough for Democrats to recruit candidates who don't want to run just to lose, Howard says now great candidates are stepping up because they believe they can win.
So I do think that there is a good possibility that we could become the majority in the next elective cycle.
It's a reality forcing Republicans to rethink their strategy. As Huck works to raise money, the party is targeting Hispanic, women, and millennial voters to make the case GOP policies benefit them. And every Republican I spoke to pointed out the party must do a better job educating voters about the progress they've made.
For us, we just believe that we have to tell that story and make sure that folks understand that it's Republican policies that have made Texas so free and have made it so competitive.
We're richer for having the conversation and the dialogue, and I think we have a huge case to make.
Candidates like Tally are preparing for battle.
How much work are you going to have to do between now and election time? What does that look like for you?
It's a lot of work. It's probably 450 houses a week, knocking on doors, getting people to meet me and understand who I am.
And there's a wild card. No matter how hard Democrats and Republicans work, much will be determined by the state of the presidential race in 2020. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Austin, Texas.
Still ahead, a grandfather's response to the sudden death of his 2-year-old granddaughter and how he hopes to help others. Stay with us.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Tim Dunn is a Texas oil billionaire, a generous philanthropist, and a strong man of faith. Tragedy, though, hit the family with the unexpected death of his granddaughter. In his book, Yellow Balloons, Tim writes how his faith helped him during this hard time. CBN's Jenna Browder sat down with him to talk about it.
Tim Dunn is a true success on many levels, but you wouldn't necessarily know it if you met him on the street, and he's not the type to flaunt it. Midland, Texas is his home, where he's made and continues to make his fortune in the oil business. And it's where he and his wife, Terry, raised their family.
We have 6 children and 17 grandchildren, number 18 on the way. And so we're really blessed in that respect.
His son, David, is a musician in Nashville, who CBN featured on the 700 Club.
Make a symphony from broken melody. You do it beautifully.
Yet despite all of these accomplishments, there's a void at every family gathering.
Mariah was very special to us.
Due to the death of Tim's 2-year-old granddaughter.
Mariah just died in her crib, unexpectedly, without medical explanation. Just her heart stopped.
A man of deep faith, Tim asked God why.
There's only 3 things you control in life: who you trust, what you do, and how you look at things. And that choice that God gave us of how to look at things is an incredible gift, and we usually don't pay that much attention to it.
And that, in the context of Mariah's death, is the foundation of Yellow Balloons. Tim calls it a true perspective, learning to trust God and know Him through faith.
Well, Mariah only got 20 months or 22 months of that. Why does she miss out on that? I don't know the answer to that. I trust that God has an answer. I'll hear it someday. There's just some things we don't know, and we have to say, well, I have to leave that in your hands.
Tim says knowing God by faith is a unique gift and something we only get to experience in this life.
And I think we sort of think of it as a burden that we have to bear. Like, oh, someday we'll be there to see Him face to face. And that's true. Yeah, I do look forward to that. But the biblical message is, don't underestimate the incredible gift that you have of knowing God by faith, because you'll only get one shot at that, and it's in this life. And if you miss it, it never comes again. Don't miss any opportunity to know God by faith. And when you go through valleys, don't miss it. When you have the plains of routine, everyday routine, every routine is full of opportunity to trust God. Don't fall into the illusion that because this is routine, I can handle it. You can walk by faith. All of us can in that circumstance too. And then when you have the mountaintops and things are going great, that's the hardest time, because then you have the illusion that I got all this together and I don't really need any help. And that's dangerous, because it's just not true. The reason we called it Yellow Balloons is because at Mariah's memorial service, her favorite color was yellow. And so her Mimi, my wife, wore a yellow dress, and we had yellow ribbons. And after her service, we released yellow balloons into the air.
He believes he'll see Mariah again in heaven. And until that day comes, he's making the most of the here and now.
I'm a very wealthy man in the respect of family, which is the greatest wealth you can have, I think.
Choosing a true perspective and encouraging others to do the same. One way he's doing that, giving away as many free copies of his book as he can.
Some people have a bestseller, I have a best giver, okay? I'd love to bless people with this book.
You can get a free copy of Yellow Balloons online. We have a link on CBNnews.com. It also comes in a hard copy you can buy online and in bookstores. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
And as Jenna just mentioned, you can get a free copy of the book online. We've got a link for you at CBNnews.com. Yellow Balloons is also available on hard copy. You can purchase that online and in bookstores. Coming up, one of the stars of the movie Overcomer talks about what he had to give up in Hollywood to follow Christ.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Actor Cameron Arnett lost everything as an up-and-coming actor. He says that the loss came when he chose to fully honor God with his life. Some of Arnett's big roles in the 80s and 90s include Star Trek: The Next Generation and Miami Vice. In the film Overcomer, Arnett's character says, when you find your identity in the one who created you, it will change your whole perspective. That has been true in his real life. Arnett plays Thomas Hill. He's a blind man who found Christ in the midst of pain and chaos. His character is a mentor to Coach John Harrison, played by Alex Kendrick.
I think what people will identify with is that no matter where they've been, what they've done, the mess-ups, the breakups, the foul-ups, that there's a God that is in love with them.
At one time, Arnett's acting career was flourishing in Hollywood with some pretty big roles and more coming. But when he auditioned for a part that would require a scene with partial nudity, he decided not to do it, even when offered a body double, because he sensed God telling him, people are going to still think it's you. Arnett said in a recent interview, I am a Christian first. I am not an actor. I am not a pastor. I am a son of God, and I'm a servant of God. That is my claim to fame. Time now for your Thursday Thankful. I pray you will join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, I am grateful that when I move in faith, you move to make your word a reality in my life. That prayer reminds me of a familiar song and the lyrics that say, when I move, you move. Just like that. With that word, make this a thankful Thursday and a wonderful weekend. That's going to do it for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can find more on CBN News programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also follow the news anytime at CBNNews.com. We would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that, of course, by emailing us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, we'd love for you to take the time to reach out and touch us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a thankful Thursday and a wonderful rest of the week. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow, everybody. Goodbye and God bless.